Hi there. Got my tea, drinking chamomile and lavender in the morning, which is, it's a relaxing tea, so maybe it's not the very most advisable thing, but it tastes really good and I do like feeling relaxed, so it works out. um, this kind of what's on my mind today is this topic of not waiting to commit to things. And, we can always have the perspective of, well, what if you feel pressured to commit, or you put pressure to like commit to a specific vision and plan and course of action in your life? And then what if you commit to it and it doesn't work out? And then you feel like, oh God, I should never committed. Well, I think that the only way that we are able to even see, have the privilege of seeing the result of actions is by taking the actions. Like, it's a privilege to even have that proof of, okay, this didn't work, but I'm going to keep on trying different ways to accomplish what I want. It's even a privilege to fail. Like, failing means, or, having some kind of um, painful side effect. It's really just proof of another blessing, redirecting our thoughts. It is a proof that we had the resources and the time and the courage and the the faith in ourselves, um, and the openness to other people to take a risk. And I think that's really beautiful. And the thing is, so that's one side of the coin, right? What if things do fall apart? And, we have to work with our best judgment and not just make decisions because other people are pressuring us, or because, um, there's definitely places for that, times and places for that kind of perspective. But the other side of it is, what if it works out? Like, what if that is a thing that gets you what you really want? What if committing committing to a plan of action, um, committing to a mental, sorry, I'm having allergies, committing to a mental model of how you conceptualize who you are and the role you play to other people and organizations, and just your identity, committing to an identity and committing to the perspective of, if this event happens, it doesn't mean that this identity is wrong. It doesn't mean that this commitment is wrong. It just means that I need to grow in the sense of relearning a different perspective to take, or a different way of meeting my own needs and looking out for myself within the context of that commitment still. um, we just gotta take commitments in order to have the supportive structure within which to, like, the supportive container and structure that encourages us to um, practice the um, mental, I was going to say modulation, like mental modulation techniques, resilience practices, um, which are essential to build up the skills and characteristics that we need to succeed in whatever circumstance, like whether it's in the one commitment that we have made, whether, you know, it ends up being that commitment that the skills we have allow us to stay within that commitment, or whether we change commitments in the future, change identities in the future, have more information and experiences that come in and show us just a different, a change of identity and commitment and orientation of what are all the moving pieces in my life, the things that nourish and allow the best to come out of me so I can be the best for other people, kind of thing. So, yeah, I've just been thinking about this idea of commitment, committing to an identity, because, it's very common, very common. I definitely have majorly struggled with that myself, of being like, I don't know my identity because I have all these different thoughts and emotions when I imagine what it could be like. And I imagine the what ifs, and, just feeling really paralyzed and stuck, afraid to make a move. And the thing is, while we are afraid to make a move, we are still making the choice, like if we think of it as like our mind is imagining all these different paths we could be on. But our body can only be on one path. Like, our body is on a path. Our body has made a choice. Our body has made a choice of its own wisdom. And if we can be maybe humble enough, or just, humble isn't the right word, but just open to asking or listening or reflecting on what our body's decisions, what that could mean. I think that can bring a lot of clarity and a lessening of, feeling divided, like I split identity, like what is my identity? What am I doing? And what am I committed to? What role am I playing? How do I know when to use my power of logic to protect continuing on the path, and when to use my power of logic to protect going a different path, And I think it's also a lot subtler, like the kind of mental image visualization. It's more like we're on this giant path with bricks, the yellow brick road, and sometimes we're just like, we're staying on that yellow brick road, like we're not like taking the exit to go on another like red brick road, whatever. We're on that yellow brick road, but the questions we ask ourselves, it's really more about like, should I step on this brick or that brick, or that brick? We're still on the yellow brick road, but it's not like every single step we take on that road is a whole new path. And I think that's where some of my thinking has gotten tripped up, of feeling like having a hard time thinking of those narratives for where can I cater to my individuality, and kind of creating my own vision of an enjoyable, supported life, outside of those kind of cultural stereotypes or very narrow expectations. Like, what are the things that they're just outside of those cultural stereotypes, but it still makes sense to you personally. Like, and I want to mention also more of what I was talking about with the listening to our body thing. Like, our body is in one place, right? Like, our body is doing stuff. Our body's doing stuff. And if we think, like, our body wouldn't, basically, if our mind was so decided one certain way or another, our body is going to reflect that, because our body has physiological responses, which just makes certain ways of living way too stressful. and makes it so that we won't take that option because our body has a fearful, painful, uncomfortable, negative response to it. So, because of that, our body has that wisdom that does say, like, right now, with the factors in front of me, this is the path that goes with the grain, the path that is the most streamlined, the most supportive, given all the resources I have in my life right now, in this moment. Not the resources I might have 3 months from now, not the resources I have faith I will have one day, 5 years from now, but our body makes decisions based on all the resources we actually have access to in this very moment, or like this season of our life, you could say, like from the present moment backwards. Not the present moment 3 months from now, 1 month from now, 1 week from now, 1 day from now. It's all having to do up to the present moment and, a bit of the past. The kind of the information on which our body makes its own decisions based on what is less stressful to our system. And that includes information as far as, the factors our body takes into consideration. What information and proof, sensation of proof for this information, like encouraging information, like if you like I can be in a really supportive community and have really amazing supportive friendships where I'm seeing people I love, common interests every day, doing really great activities. That could be information that you might like tell yourself and be like, yes, I believe this is going to be the case, that this is totally possible for me. But sometimes we have to have proof. We have to have proof. Our body has to actually experience, not just imagining so much this happening, but our body needs to actually have that experience to just cut out some of the mental energy it takes to imagine and visualize and kind of psych ourselves up into believing this thing is real. That is a powerful tool, but also sometimes our body has to have that proof, like, oh my God, yes, I'm so grateful. I feel relief. I actually do have these super supportive people who are in my life every day, who I support as well, that feels really rewarding with similar interests, and we're creating something that really moves us. We're working on something together that feels really invigorating. So our body does make decisions. If you feel like you're kind of oscillating between two or more what feels like separate identities, and that makes you unsure of where to commit, because this is something that I've struggled with and is really common to struggle with, I think it's really helpful to ask, first of all, what is our body saying? What is our body doing? What is in our life right now? What is the life we are living right now? And if we aren't making different decisions already, I think that means that we don't have the right support. At least for me, that's what I'm kind of interpreting. That it is a good sign that there's not enough support yet. The phrase, like, proof is in the pudding. Like, I think that has to do with, like, it's like a British phrase or something that has to do with bread rising. Like there's yeast in it because the bread rises. If the bread doesn't rise, it means there's no yeast. Like, it's proof. You could be like, I believe there's yeast, but if it's not risen, that kind of thing. So, just whatever path our body is on in the moment, that can, if we're not making decisions, if we're not actively making decisions to do something else, that means we're not yet at that stage where that question is relevant, right? We're not yet at the stage where that question is relevant. And I think a lot of really imaginative, thoughtful, intelligent, strategic, empathetic people who love listening to other people's stories and life experiences and imagining what would things be like in these positions. I think that sometimes we can get, at least for me, get a little bit confused almost, like being like, just because we can imagine it, does that actually mean it is possible in the moment? Like, to some degree, in order to get ahead or have momentum going, I think it's really crucial to pick an identity to commit to, pick a strategy to commit to, and not, so that we can gently be like, okay, come on, mind, like herd our mind back to what we are thinking about and considering. And understanding that sometimes fantasizing is just that, in the sense it's a way that our mind entertains itself in a way that we find entertaining. And if you like to read, if you like to write, if you really get emotionally involved in people's stories, and we gotta just understand sometimes that the story that we are living now is where our body is, and making decisions and commitments within where we are now, not where we could theoretically be if we made these changes. Unless you make those changes like right now, like, to a degree, we just have to focus our hope and our encouragement and our energy and our daydreams and our commitments where we make some sacrifices or changes for the greater good of our goals. We do have to make that within a smaller framework, not constantly asking ourselves, well, if XYZ happened, could I do this instead? And chances are we're going to ask ourselves that anyways, because we are just creative, strategic, thoughtful people. But we also have to learn to rein it in and to recognize when it is entertaining ourselves, just thinking, dreaming about things, and when it is like a serious consideration that we feel is relevant to our life. Because I guess I'm just realizing lately how much it can help streamline things and hasten a process and progress within a process to really commit to a specific identity, a specific strategy, a specific role, just a specific conceptualization for who we are, what we do, why we do it, what is our priority, what information is relevant to us. And I think it's a really important part of learning to use that inner coach, that inner organization lady, man, whatever, who can sort through what is relevant, what isn't, so that we can make decisions easier, quicker, with more conviction, and ultimately have more momentum in a direction that helps our dreams come true and encourages us and helps us feel hopeful, which is so crucial because we got to play on earth. So yeah, I affirm for you that you will be able to have clarity based on asking where your body is, what your body is deciding with its intuitive wisdom is the path of least resistance for you in this moment, in this era of your life. And that you will be able to get more clarity on what is that specific identity, role, mental model of who you are, what you're doing, why you're doing it. What does that look like for you in this season of your life? So that you can put more energy, more mental space into the things that really have more bang for their buck, like, finances, health, I don't know, those are probably the most common ones. Those are the ones I can think of because they're just kind of overarching. But, family, developing a certain skill, a certain talent, a certain something with your career, these kinds of things. Yeah. So thank you so much for listening and be back soon. Take care. Bye.